You've been praying about this for a long time. You've been asking God to do something, to expose what is happening, to bring the truth to the surface. And nothing has changed. They're still in position, still respected, still believed, and you're starting to wonder if God even sees what you see. But what if God is already moving and it does not look like what you expected? What if exposure does not begin with their public downfall? What if it begins with something God is doing in you first? In this video, I'm going to show you 5 specific signs from the Bible that God may already be bringing a deceptive pattern into the light. Not a vague, God will handle it someday. I'm going to show you how he actually does it, what it looks like when it's happening, and what your role is in each stage. Now, for those of you who are new, welcome. My name is Shaneen, and welcome to Toxicity is Not Your Destiny, where I put out weekly videos on how to navigate toxic relationships in your life from a biblical, practical, and spiritual perspective. So if you'd like to receive weekly content on this topic, subscribe to my channel, and don't forget to hit the bell so you don't miss a video. I also have a free 7-day journey to healing and freedom from narcissistic relationships, and you can get that for free by clicking on the link in the description box below. If you're in the middle of processing what God is showing you, this resource will walk you through it day by day for 7 days. Now let's get into the first sign. This is where God awakens you to what he has already seen. The first sign is that God opens your eyes to something he has been watching for a long time. And I want to show you this from Genesis 31 because it sets up everything else that we're going to cover. In Genesis, there's a man named Jacob who falls in love with a woman named Rachel. Her father Laban tells Jacob, "Work for me for 7 years and I will give you my daughter Rachel in marriage." So Jacob works the 7 years. And on the wedding night, Laban switches the bride. He gives Jacob his older daughter Leah instead of Rachel, and then says to Jacob, "Work another 7 years and you can have Rachel too." So Jacob works another 7 years. And then after that, he stays on working for Laban, tending his flocks, building his wealth. And the entire time, Laban kept changing the terms. The Bible says that Laban changed Jacob's wages 10 times. Every time Jacob found a way to succeed, Laban moved the goalpost. This is a family relationship with a power imbalance. The person in authority kept exploiting, kept deceiving, kept changing the rules. And Jacob stayed because he felt bound by the arrangement. And then later on in the chapter, God spoke to Jacob in a dream. He showed him what Laban had been doing behind his back. And God said, "I have seen all that Laban is doing to you." And then he told Jacob, "Leave." Jacob had been living it for 20 years, working in it, enduring it, accepting the changing terms. But God pulled back the curtain and let him see the full picture. And the Bible says that God speaks in a dream, in a vision of the night, when deep sleep falls upon men, to turn them from their path and keep them from destruction. This is what the first sign is. God supernaturally interrupts your acceptance of a situation and shows you what he has already seen. Now, here's what I want you to understand about this, because it will help you to evaluate your own experience. God does not create paranoia. He interrupts denial, and those are 2 very different things. Paranoia is scattered, it's anxious, it has no specific object, it makes you suspicious of everything. But God's awakening is different. It draws your attention to something specific and invites you to examine it soberly. It doesn't make you afraid of everyone. It makes you unable to ignore one thing. What might this look like? A dream that will not leave you. A passage of the Bible that keeps surfacing no matter what you're reading. A deep check in your spirit that you cannot explain away. A conversation you are not expecting that suddenly makes everything click. The Bible says, "Do not quench the spirit. Do not despise prophecies. Test all things. Hold fast to what is good. Do not ignore what God is showing you, and do not treat it as the whole picture either. It's an invitation to pay attention, to pray into something, to look at the fruit. It's like an X on the map that says, dig here. And this brings us to the second sign. Sign number 2, God makes the fruit impossible to reconcile with the image. Jesus taught a principle in the Bible that applies directly here. He said, beware of false prophets who come to you in sheep's clothing, but inwardly they are ravenous wolves. You will know them by their fruits. You will know them by their fruits, not by their words, not by their reputation, not by how spiritual they appear, but by their fruits. And there's a story in 1 Samuel 15 that shows exactly what this looks like. There was a king in Israel named Saul. God had given him a specific command. Go and completely destroy the Amalekites and everything they have. Saul went to battle, but instead of obeying fully, he kept the best of the livestock and spared the enemy king. And then he came back to the prophet Samuel and said, I have performed the commandment of the Lord. And Samuel said, then what is this bleating of the sheep in my ears? The image said one thing, and the fruit said another. And the fruit made a sound that could not be silenced. Saul was standing there declaring obedience, while the evidence of his disobedience was bleating in the background. Let that sit for a moment. The second sign that God is bringing something into the light is that he makes the gap between the image and the fruit impossible to hold together. The person's claimed character is increasingly contradicted by what they actually produce. And you find yourself working harder and harder and harder to reconcile what they say with what you're experiencing. And the strain of holding both of these realities together becomes unbearable. That is not confusion, my friend. That is God making fruit audible. If you are hearing the bleating of the sheep in your own life, if the fruit is making a sound that contradicts everything this person claims to be, pay attention. God is making it impossible to ignore. So God has awakened you. The fruit is now visible. But you're still alone with the knowledge. And that is where the next sign comes in. Sign number 3, God breaks the closed system. The third sign is that truth begins to reach you from outside the system you've been living in. Jesus said, ask and it will be given. Seek and you shall find. Knock and the door will be opened to you. And there's another verse that says, you will seek me and find me when you search for me with all your heart. God rewards seekers. And this is important because when you have been living inside a closed system, whether that is a church, a family, an organization, or a ministry, one voice or group of voices has been defining reality for you. They have been telling you what is normal, what is acceptable, what is godly, and what is rebellious. And because you are inside it, you have no other frame of reference. Their version of reality is only one version you have access to. But after God awakens you, after the fruit becomes impossible to ignore, something shifts. You can't carry it alone anymore. And you start looking for answers outside of that system. You start researching, you start reading, you start asking questions you never asked before. Maybe you search online, maybe you pick up a book, maybe you finally talk to someone who's not inside the system. And for the first time, you hear a voice that is not controlled by the person or the environment that has been defining your reality. And when that happens, things start to make sense in a way like they never did before. Because now you have something to compare your experience to. You can see it from the outside for the first time. What does this look like? A book that describes your exact situation so accurately, it feels like the author knows you. A teaching from someone who has no connection to your world, but speaks directly to what you are living. Maybe it's a conversation with someone outside the system, or a counselor who gives you language for what you've been experiencing. Maybe even this video right now. Sometimes you're actively seeking, and sometimes God just puts something in your path. A friend sends you a link. A book falls into your hands. Someone says something in passing that unlocks everything. Either way, God is meeting you. He promises that when you seek truth, you will find it, and He does not leave seekers empty-handed. Proverbs 11:14 says, "Where there is no counsel, the people fail, but in the multitude of counselors there is safety." So God will not leave you dependent on one person's or one system's interpretation of reality. He will bring outside voices that bring clarity in the midst of the fog and confusion. And I want to be clear, this is not just about finding people who agree with you. God's confirmation comes through wise and truth-loving and God-loving counsel. Now, here's something I want to say directly because this is where the progression shifts. The first 3 signs are things that God does. He awakens you, He makes the fruit visible, He brings truth from outside the system. But the 4th sign requires something from you, and it is the hardest one. Sign number 4, God calls you to walk in the light. The Bible says, "For you were once darkness, but now you are the light in the Lord. Walk as children of light, and have no fellowship with the unfruitful works of darkness, but rather expose them." The 4th sign is that God asks you to do something with what He has shown you. Light is not just information. Light calls for obedience. The question shifts from, what is God showing me, to what faithful step is God asking me to take? Now, I want to teach you what walking in the light actually means because it's not the same thing as confronting the person. Walking in the light means you stop agreeing with the lie. You stop pretending it is not happening. That might look like telling a trusted counselor the truth. It might look like stopping the pretense in your own heart. It might look like refusing to lie for them anymore. It does not necessarily mean marching up to that person and saying, "I know what you're doing." It means that you personally come out of agreement with the darkness. You stop being a participant in it. And this prospect might feel very scary. You might be wondering, what if the person in your life retaliates? What if no one believes you? What if you lose your community or your church or your family's support or your financial stability? What if the cost of truth is everything you have built? I want to be honest with you. It might cost you something. Walking in the light in the middle of a dark system is not free. But staying in darkness is not free either. You're already paying a big price. You're paying it in silence, in confusion, in the slow erosion of your peace and your ability to hear God clearly. The question is not whether you will pay a price. The question is which price you are willing to keep paying. So what does this look like practically? It might mean the first step is not external, but internal. It's where you stop agreeing with the narrative that has been keeping you silent. You stop telling yourself, maybe I'm the problem. You stop rehearsing their version of events in your own mind. You let yourself believe what you saw. Then you tell one safe person the truth, not to gossip, not to build a case, but because you cannot heal in the same silence that made you sick. And I know that even telling one person might feel like an act of disobedience because you have been taught that talking about it is gossip or rebellion or dishonor. But there's a difference between slander and telling the truth to someone safe. And the Bible never calls honesty a sin. And then another way this plays out practically is that you stop performing normalcy. You stop pretending that everything is fine to protect someone else's image. You stop smiling through the dysfunction at church, at family gatherings, in public. You let the truth be true, even if it makes other people uncomfortable. For some people, the faithful step God is asking them to take is to stay and speak the truth. For others, it may be to leave, but just know that the step for you comes from God, not the system's definition of what a faith-filled or Christian person does. And when you do this, the relationship is forced to respond to the light. It can no longer operate in the dark because you're no longer providing the darkness it needs. Now, I need to say this clearly. If you are in a situation where there is danger, where there is violence, where there's threats or stalking or any form of coercion, the faithful step may not be a confrontation. It may be a safety plan, outside help, documentation, a quiet departure. God's leading will never require to put you or your children in harm's way. So seek God for the specific step He is asking of you. And this brings us to the final sign, because when light enters, darkness always responds. The fifth sign is that when you walk in light, their response exposes what the image had been hiding all along. There's an example in the Bible. The Apostle John writes about a man named Diotrephes who led a local church. John describes him as someone who loves to have the preeminence. He wanted to be first. He wanted control. And when John tried to address the church, Diotrephes refused to receive him. John says Diotrephes prates against us with malicious words, and not content with that, he himself does not receive the brethren and forbids those who wish to, putting them out of the church. When his behavior was named, he slandered, he retaliated, and expelled people. His response revealed his heart. What does this look like in your life? When access, secrecy, or control is threatened, the person may respond with rage, completely disproportionate to what was said. They may suddenly become the victim. They may move quickly to control the narrative before you even have a chance to speak. They may accuse you of being rebellious or divisive or bitter or deceived. They may escalate rather than reflect. You did not cause that response. The light caused it. Their reaction to truth is not your fault. It is their character responding to exposure, and it reveals the heart that the image had been concealing all along. So let me bring this together. The progression the Bible shows us is this: God sees, God speaks, God confirms, God calls you to walk in the light. And then the response to light reveals what was hidden. If God is doing any of these 5 things in your life right now, pay attention. He is not ignoring what is happening to you. He is not asleep. He said to Jacob, I have seen all that Laban is doing to you, and he sees what is being done to you. Remember, your assignment is not to manufacture their downfall. Your assignment is to obey the light that you have received from God, to walk as a child of light, to stop participating in darkness by your silence, and to trust that the God who broke Jacob free from Laban's house is able to break you free also. The first victory is not their public collapse. The first victory is your freedom from confusion, from secrecy, and from coerced participation in a lie. So if this video spoke something to you, something that God is doing in your life right now, type God sees in the comments below. And if you have not already, sign up for my free 7-day journey from healing and freedom from narcissistic relationships. The link is in the description box below. It will walk you through what to do with what God is showing you, one day at a time. Thank you so much for watching. I will see you in the next video.